here inside the Circus Maximus at Caesar's Palace. Of course, we've got the match 105. This is game number 1. HuK taking on Alive on Antigua Shipyard. Of course, a Protoss versus Terran coming at you. And Alive just coming off of a nice win versus Stefano, going to be warmed up. I feel like HuK, though, he's kind of going to be ready for this matchup, for sure.
And we do have HuK. Spawning on the right-hand side here is the red Protoss. And in the bottom left here, we do have TSL Alive. Spawning as the purple Terran. And like I said, I think we are going to see some macro-focused builds. One gate expo for HuK. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some form of fast expand from TSL Alive. Gasless expo is very viable. Even command center first also.
Now, I'm going to be interesting. You said that, of course, we could have 2 macro based players, and typically you're not going to see that patented Terran and aggression in a TVP matchup. So with Antigua Shipyard, talk to me a little bit, Apollo. Like, what do you think with the base configuration that's set out? Some players will argue that for the Protoss this could be a little bit more difficult based off of where that third base is. Of course, we also have the rocks in the back, which make it a little bit more susceptible to those quick attacks as well. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, the way they've spawned, it's pretty good for HuK, because the third base for HuK is very easily defended, because it's quite a compact 3 bases from the main to the natural to the third, so it will be quite easy for him to defend any form of drop. So just thinking about that alone, I wouldn't be surprised if Alive kind of focused on his timings, basically on the ground timings, and really hitting from the front. And on the other hand though, HuK equally loves timing attacks on this map, which are pretty good too. And especially because, the third base is quite easy to take, which means we may even see Alive go for an earlier third command center, which may force HuK into going for some form of timing, 7 gate or 6 gate, maybe even add in Blink there. He's also been known for doing that as well here.
And I have to feel like HuK is actually quite excited to be playing a PVT here, especially after that incredible matchup versus Stefano. He even came into the back and he says, how am I supposed to beat Zerg? Of course, jokingly, but it was a crazy matchup here. I think he's certainly going to be much more comfortable in what he's got here, but Alive is no slouch of a player here, so I think we're going to have quite this the clash, as we've got HuK doing a little bit of harassment here against this SCV, but the Marine comes out. He wants to save that probe, so he will get out of there. He had the opportunity to kill the SCV, but it's not going to make that big of a difference if he did it. It's safer to go ahead and save that probe and possibly drop a pylon to use later on. It looks like we're going to have the Cybernetics core finishing up right here. And based off of what we see out of Alive, any indication on which way we might be seeing him go?
Well, he's gone reactor onto the barracks, so he's going to be building double Marines every time, but he's going to be expanding. He's taken 2 off gas. He's only in 1 currently, so he's actually getting that boost of money. At the same time, that single Marine just denying the scanning information for HuK, so he has no idea what's going on. He doesn't even see the add-on actually on the barracks, so he just sees the 1 gas. And meanwhile, we have double gas here for HuK, and a sentry being made as well after this Stalker. So basically, he's got a Stalker to deny the scout for Alive, and he can also go and take map control, center of the map, and can put a bit of pressure back onto Alive. And especially because he's only going to have Marines there, the Stalker's going to be able to be controlled very well, and we are going to see an expansion from HuK going for these sentries, really saving up those minerals.
And of course, especially with HuK, and a lot of the Protoss players out there like to get this early Stalker out, even sometimes a number of them. Of course, it's not exactly what we're going to see out of HuK to start with, but that map control can be crucial as they go into the mid to later game, of course, especially based off of the positions that they are in this particular map. But we are going to have a third racks go down. There, of course, is the command center about ready to finish up as well. Still just the 1 gas over here for Alive. It looks like a Nexus will go down for HuK.
And HuK is actually saving, he's not using his chrono boost, he's not building probes either. He's actually throwing his gateways down at 29. And if you think about early to late, early is like 26 and late is roughly 34. So it's kind of in the middle. So he's being a little bit cautious because he has like no idea what's going on. This could still be, the very known 1-1-1 kind of build. But he doesn't know that at the moment, that it is a fast command center, and double barracks have been added on, so 3 barracks in total right now. And he sees all these Marines and still very much in the dark. And this is the problem with playing Protoss, is you are in the dark until the observer comes out. So we will be seeing the robotics facility going down very, very shortly to actually get that scanning information.
Yeah, and it's crucial. In fact, there it is, as you call it out. The robotics facility is down, and when you're in this situation, you do not want to play blind. You can get yourself into a particular scenario where you can just lose because you have absolutely no idea what's going on. Now, a quick update on Alive's base. He does have double Tech Lab going down, of course, getting Stim and Concussive Shell at the exact same time. Marines being a majority of his force as he flies over this command center to get his expansion up. Meanwhile, we are going to have an SCV come on in here, but it will be stopped by the sentries. But the more important thing is, did he actually see the Nexus? And he did not. So, I mean, at the same time, we've got Alive pretty much in the dark as well. But based off of the unit composition that he's seen, he's probably got a little bit better idea on what might be going on. HuK now has his robotics facility finished up. Of course, an observer is going to be the first thing out.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing a second gas from Alive very, very shortly, as he will want to start the factory tech, basically, and then go into Starport, and he plays pretty much straight up. You know, we'll be seeing double reactor, reactor onto the factory, then Starport, so you can get double medivacs pumping out. And meanwhile, with HuK, I mean, he's still very much so in the dark. He's now just seeing a Marine on the middle of the map, which will deny vision. But look at this, a little cute army from Alive is going to come out now. And HuK may not even know about this because Alive is going to move around the Xel'Naga Tower, and it's going to not even enter the sight range of this observer.
Yeah, and in fact, in this particular situation, keeping an eye on particularly HuK's vision as we go ahead and uncover it. Keep your eyes on the mini-map as you can see that Bioforce move around, completely avoiding that observer, and this works out to be some pretty good timing. Now, he is going to poke up here and see him right outside the pylon, so some purple will pop up. Immediately, we see the Stalker react and try to get back home, so no units are exchanged here. Played nicely by both players because Alive not necessarily committing to any sort of aggression, but causing a response out of HuK. In fact, he might go up here, throw down the doorbell and just see what happens.
Oh, these 3 sentries are really careful, and HuK's going to be able to flank now, even trap the units in there, and this is looking pretty good for HuK, actually. It depends where actually Alive goes with his units.
Yeah, he's going to stim, and he's going to go up to the top, but he splits off, starts taking out some probes. Here at the natural, he'll easily take out that small group of Marines, but what's going on down on the inside? Pylon did go out, it depowered a gateway and the robotics facility, but he will manage to get a couple of probe kills in here as well. We do see about 7 killed, and it's not going to be done yet. These force fields going to cause his army to slow down just a little bit going back inside, and he does clean it up, but at the cost of 9 probes. The question is look at what HuK is left over with. He's at 58 supply compared to 76, but that initial army was lost there by Alive.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with the way HuK played that. I mean, he could have very easily thrown a force field onto the ramp to deny the units going up there in the first place, and then have all his units onto the natural. But to be honest, Alive played that absolutely perfect. I mean, he hit everything, he maximized the damage output from his army, and meanwhile not dropping the ball at all. He basically has all these units, he's got medivacs incoming soon, and he's starting his engineering bay to go into upgrades as well, and he's looking really safe, getting his 3rd command center as well. And despite HuK going for all this gateway count, it was all scouted and spotted by Alive as he went in there, and he's gonna have to, he can't really go for any formal push because it was scouted. So we are seeing him tech up now, going up to Templar Archives, trying to get in the High Templar as soon as possible right now.
The Templar Archives coming in, but it will be a delay here as it happens. Meanwhile, Alive is going to go ahead and load up 2 medevacs filled with some Marauders and a few Marines as well. That leaves no medevacs back at home, but it looks like HuK has retreated back. Wants to just make sure that he does have an appropriate homecoming party for this drop that could be coming in. Looks like it's going to be headed on over. It is in the southeast corner. We'll be heading on up here. If we look at the possible places of attack, there are a few key areas here. Also some pylons that could be sniped. And meanwhile, keep in mind, he's also taking control of the center. So I do like this posturing here. Here comes the drop now as it heads into HuK's base.
Yeah, and it's going to be able to do not that much damage. There are a lot of Stalkers here. The Zealots can be easy warped in, but the main focus now is that Alive's pushing through the middle, can easily catch all his units together and just go for a front-out attack. But HuK did see that with an Observer really early on, so he was prepared for this quite easily.
And some Stalkers going down here as 1 pylon falls as well. Not a whole lot of damage actually being done here by HuK, but he has lost 3, make that 4 Stalkers now going to try to snipe one of the medevacs. But he does not manage to get it. Also, we've got the factory helping out with the vision. And I'm a little surprised that HuK is actually choosing to engage here rather than just backing off and making sure that there's not an entry point. But there's a nice snipe of at least one of the medevac. And keep in mind, if that other medevac gets sniped down, it doesn't leave a whole lot of option here for this group of units up there.
Oh, these High Templar are going to be able to feed back the medevac. Not quite enough energy. And storms those. Oh, clears that up really nicely.
Wow.
There for HuK.
Yeah, everything goes down there, Apollo, and now I've got another force moving on in here, but I'm not sure that I agree with this force committing to this as well. In fact, he's just going to stim one Marine, see what's there, and he's going to be very thankful that he did not move on there with a base that has one single probe. There's the transfer heading on over, and HuK is sitting at a pretty good army size in comparison to what was just knocking at the front door. However, Alive is still ahead in supply. It is 135 to 120 right now, and we have charge on the way from HuK here. We also do have the first High Templar out as well. So both players, I feel like, really respecting one another, not overcommitting to any sort of attacks, but still pressuring and poking a bit.
Yeah, and actually my next line after you finish that was going to be like, HuK needs his upgrades. He's fallen behind quite heavily, so he actually throws down double forge, which is definitely needed now. As you can already see, 2-1 is being researched for Alive, so he's a little bit ahead. But with Chrono Boost, if spent, wisely into the forges, we'll be able to catch up rather fast here. And the thing is, with Korean players, what makes them so good, and not just Korean players, but Terran players in general, is they're doing all this harassment and pressure, but in the background, they are macroing so hard, and a big drop is about to happen on the third base of HuK, and there is nothing there to defend it.
Yeah, this is going to be so nasty. There might be a warp in, and here it comes in almost immediately. A bunch of Zealots coming in, a couple High Templar as well. We will get feedbacks on both. Oh, one of the medevacs survives with 18 hit points, and also we've got a big engagement at the front.
Yeah, but he's got such a great position here Alive. HuK cannot even go in there. There are ghosts out as well. So the focus is on this drop at the back base, which is doing a lot of damage. These upgrades versus 0-0 for HuK, just doing so much damage.
Yeah, the High Templars did get some good feedback on it, and so great storms, but is there enough to follow up with there? Keep in mind also, the third is still being heavily attacked, and he is going to have to force out of there. There is a couple of medevacs there to help. A few force fields do make a choke there, but let's take a look at what's going on here at the third. There is a warp in to support and hopefully finally take this out, and he needs to get that. He does manage to take it out, but Apollo, the damage has kind of been done. Not only did HuK lose a good portion of his army there at the front of the base, he also lost some High Templar. In fact, we saw a lone ghost just get some really, really easy snipes off to completely negate those units. What was left did get the good storms off. So the one advantage that HuK will have is that these medevacs will not have a whole lot of energy going into the next battle.
And we have another drop going into the main base, and relentless pressure from Alive coming out, really stretching HuK along these three bases. And once again, there's nothing here to defend this. He can snipe pylons very easily to prevent the warp-ins whatsoever. 3 gateways going down as well. Even more, this is really tough for HuK.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 gateways getting powered down. In fact, it's just a pylon hunt right now, as Alive knows. He saw it earlier. He takes out almost all of the critical units here inside the main base, and as a result, the production for HuK has really, really slowed down to the fact, he's got 2 gateways that I see here in the main that he can warp in off of. He is getting some supporting pylons back down, but one of those medevacs did manage to sneak away.
And, I was going to say, basically this opens up a huge timing now for Alive. He can just go in, and HuK is basically missing like 2 waves of units. So his army's going to be so incredibly small, and Alive can just capitalize on that. He's now at 2-1, so he can jump on this right now. He has ghosts in the army as well, and this attack could be game-ending right now.
Yeah, and the supply difference is somewhat scary as we see 185 to 132. As you know, with the Ghost coming in as well, that's going to make it an equally scary Terran force that's moving forward here. And there we're going to have initial feedback go down, but the EMP hits the rest of the High Templar, and now they're going to move in through the top. Warp Prism is, just going to go back in there, realize it's not going to be much help. And on the retreat, we will see a lot of the Zealots go down. In fact, HuK is in a ton of trouble here.
Yeah, he is, and Alive is not going to stop. He can continue. He's expanding to the goal base at the same time, which means his production's going to keep going higher and higher and higher. And HuK is on the back foot right now, DJ Wheat.
Yeah, Apollo. Also, another pylon goes down. HuK really not having the best coverage as far as that's concerned, and I feel like Alive really identified that as something that he could exploit, as he not only took down the pylon in the main, and there goes the Templar Archives. This is just eating HuK alive from the inside.
And there's no area of effect units anymore out for HuK, right? The Templar Archives gone down. There's no High Templar. He doesn't have Colossus, only gateway units. GG.
GG. And Alive takes out HuK in game number 1. A few, critical things to point out there. As we mentioned, or as you kind of mentioned, of course, the production cycles of HuK really, really crippled there in a time where HuK really, really needed it.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the production